more stuff to look at from Herschel Walker with you. This, I got a reset from the past story we just did about him where I'm angry because this is very, very silly. I've had to learn when preparing for the show, I cannot have water in my mouth whenever I start coming across Herschel Walker stories because I had a little bit of a, baby burp up moment when I watched this where water got on my shirt. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. He says that, Raphael Warnock was criticizing me and said to be a senator, you have to know some stuff. And then pauses for so long that I know some of the podcast listeners are going to think that their phone turned off. Get ready.
The other day I heard him say that to be a senator, you have to know some stuff. So I wanted to tell him some stuff he didn't know. Because in that debate, y'all saw he didn't know a lot of stuff.
Is that what we saw? Herschel, is that what we saw? I don't know.
Is he talking about the debate where he pulled out a badge?
Yeah.
That debate?
That debate. That debate. That was the only one he agreed to do. So he didn't have any response really other than I guess he's going to say that we need to secure the border, which is our next topic. We are going to get to senatorial candidate Herschel Walker's most recent thoughts on the border. But first, let me just remind you what yesterday's idea was that we went over about the border. Here we go.
The border. They said, how are you going to do that? I said, well, I can do it then. You just put up a wall. A wall do work. Wall working around your house. When you got a wall around your house, people don't do it. They can get in, but you know what? They get in, it'll be hard to get out. Because I got a dog my dog really won't bite, but he put it bad anyway. But anyway, here's what I want to tell you. What we got to do right now. This is one of the most important elections we could ever have in our lifetime.
I think that he keeps going on those little stand-up bits because he thinks the reason the audience is laughing is because he's killing the delivery and not they're laughing because they're laughing at him. But the reason why we should have a border wall is because it doesn't keep people out, but it keeps them in. So let's lock immigrants in our country like I lock people into the fence of my house or the wall of my house. Why does he have a wall in his house? And also my dog might bite you, but it doesn't bite. Okay, so that's where things stood yesterday. As you might remember if you watched that clip. Here's the most recent thing I came across from him about the border.
Well, I'm going to tell you how we can secure this border. Maybe if we can get some judges down at the border and we can try people as they're coming across before they get here, whether they legal to come across or not legal to come across, then we can send them right back. Yeah. That's what we can get done like real quickly, but we got to support this border and get this border secured, and we can do it. We can do it because there's rules on the book to get it done, but we got people in Washington that are weak. Well,
so if you were at the rally, how do they know when to cheer and stuff? Because you don't know what he's saying. So yeah. How do you know when? I think the point he was trying to make was you put judges on the other side of the border, I guess in Mexico, to stand there and catch immigrants when they come in and say, I'm going to try you right now. That's the solution getting put forth, I guess. Which the issue is not that judges are in one place or another. The reason why there would be undocumented immigration is because the law enforcement people aren't catching people as they come across, which of course we understand that they way over, just fear about immigration. And then there's also some problems that we need to solve, and legal immigration needs to be made better so that we don't have the undocumented immigration that we have. From my perspective, it's to benefit both sides, guys. The reason why we don't want so much undocumented immigration is both for the purposes of our country's organization and understanding of who's within it, but then also the immigrant themselves. We want them to have the best life that they can. The way to do that is to put them through our legal process and make them either a legal citizen or on that, path. So here's the next moment I want to show you. Very actually scary in what it represents about what people who support Herschel Walker believe about the First Amendment. Just take a look.
This flag and this national anthem that we decided that we're going to let people kneel for and sit for is not going to happen on my watch. Because I'm going to be old enough and I'm going to be a man enough to tell them you either stand up or you get out. You either stand up or you get out because too many people have sacrificed Too many people have died for us to have the freedoms and liberties that we have today, to have these people to disrespect what we got going on.
So because you can kind of understand what he's saying, this clip won't go as viral as the others, but I need y'all to understand how deeply backwards that is. He said that the liberties that were fought for mean that we can't protest. That's the opposite of what people fought for. They fought for us to have liberties and freedoms, which include protesting our own country. You don't have to agree with what they're protesting about in different situations. I happen to agree with the example he gave, agree with the protesters, agree with the kneeling, and agree with what they were kneeling about. But even if you don't, you can recognize, I don't like that particular mission or statement. We saw this during COVID. There were certain protests, anti-vax protests. I didn't support what they were protesting about, but supported the right to protest. And he just can't do that. It's, if I disagree with what you're protesting about, you should not be allowed to protest. That is as authoritarian as it gets. And for him to invoke the lives that were lost to protect our freedoms and our liberties, to justify taking those liberties and freedoms away, is just vile. Next moment, he said that we should send, oh my gosh, what is happening? IRS agents to prevent, quote, men and women's sports.
And instead of trying to keep them safe, they're over there putting men and women's sports. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is how you can solve this problem. Get rid of them 87,000 IRS agents that's going to go after all of us, and put one of those IRS agents in the schools to take care of our kids. That's what they need to be doing, instead of going after us with these IRS agents. But yet they don't know how to spend their money. Now they want to spend your money. And instead of trying to keep...
I don't think he knows what the IRS does. The IRS, I'm sorry.
This is too good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me get my wits about me. So I'm sorry. So the IRS needs to go and find trans youth and audit them. They need to check the tax records of youth who are transgender.
Okay, hold
Okay. Just give me a second. Okay. So there it is. If Herschel Walker becomes the next senator from Georgia, you better be worried if you're a transgender woman trying to compete in women's sports, because you're gonna have your tax combed through by the IRS. And then he said, "This is too much." And then he says that I can't do this. He needs the IRS agents. They should be taking care of our kids. Why?
Exactly.
Why? And instead of going after us, which what he's talking about is the IRS agents that they say 87,000, more than 50,000 that were, a part of this aspect of the Inflation Reduction Act is just replacing people who are going to retire. So then they're adding a little bit to the employment of the IRS for the purposes of going after large, wealthy entities and individuals, because it's a lot harder. It takes a lot more resources to audit and get taxes from those who have a bunch of lawyers and all these complicated tax realities. And that was the purpose of the IRS enhancing and expanding its employment, but they talk about it as if it's to go after MAGA or something. And of course, instead, we should send 87,000 IRS agents to your local elementary school. Another example of the anti-free speech intentions of Herschel Walker and anti-freedom of the press, Emma Hurt on Twitter highlighted a new rule at Herschel Walker events. Journalists can't get within 20 feet of Walker afterwards. It would seem this is to prevent journalists from shouting questions because Walker hasn't had a presser for nearly 2 months. Press have been left with no other choice. So he's not taking questions from the press because the few times he's done that, it did not go well, as I'm sure you can imagine. So instead, they're making sure journalists don't get close to him at all, and they don't entertain the freedom of speech and freedom of the press importance that we have in this country. Sorry, I'm still thinking about the IRS agents. My brain is so fried at this point. So we'll finish that story. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get access to an extra full show every Saturday that only members can see, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley, and there is a link in the description.